On today's show, we explore how a routine car service accidentally turned into a Hallmark movie experiment, why pretending you're the main character can make ordinary days feel more magical, memorable, and fun, and how a church courtyard, a raspberry croissant, a golden pheasant, a mysterious woman with 4 stoves, and a trip to the range taught me an unexpected lesson about seeing life through a different lens. So, grab your popcorn, get comfy, and maybe pour yourself a fancy hot drink, because it's time to Movify your life by turning the everyday into an adventure. Welcome to the Movify Your Life show, the plot twist you've been waiting for. I'm your host, Jessica Grace Coleman, and through the Movify Your Life method, I'll show you how to step into the starring role of your story and create a life worth watching. Every Movify Monday, you'll learn how to turn everyday moments into unforgettable memories, activate your main character energy, and use cinematic tools to boldly chase your biggest dreams, like the movie star you truly are. Because when the credits roll, I want you to look back at your life like it's the greatest film ever made, full of meaning, magic, and most importantly, 0 regrets. And because I truly believe everyone deserves to live an epic life fit for the big screen. So, grab your popcorn, cue the music, and together, let's Movify your life. Hello, and welcome to the Movify Your Life show. I am your host, Jessica Grace Coleman, but you can call me Jess, Chief Movifier and Director of Movify Your Life. Welcome to the show. And I just want to start this episode by reading out a testimonial I received from a lovely lady called Jo in Australia. She commented on my Instagram saying she listened to my podcast. So hello, if you're listening to this now. And sent me some really lovely messages. So I asked for an official testimonial that I can use online. And she sent me a lovely one. And I'm reading it out because, it's a very good testimonial, so why wouldn't I? But also because it very much ties into today's subject. So let me just read the testimonial first. Okay. I came across the Movify Your Life show podcast by complete accident, and it was exactly what I needed. The ideas, insights and actions were simple but profoundly effective. I spent a few hours pretending I was a movie hero whilst applying for a board position and was interviewed for it. I took the advice to heart one afternoon and spent time being a tourist in my hometown and had more fun than I had in a very long time. From there, I downloaded Jess's free ebook, highly recommended. The podcast, ebook and Instagram page are all whimsical, fun and really do lead to transformation. Since movifying my life and acting like my own main character, I've booked 2 solo cruises, planned 6 weeks travelling the UK, I'm from Australia, and enrolled on a course I've been interested in but never thought I could join. I have a feeling that by following the Movify Your Life practice, I will actually become the woman I always wanted to be but never thought I could. How is that for a testimonial? That is amazing. Thank you so much for sending that in, Jo. And I just love every part of it. We were talking in the DMs as well about her movie star alter egos and how she pretended she was in a Hallmark movie for that afternoon when she was a tourist in her hometown, and all the travel stuff in particular I really, really love, because I'm always encouraging people to go traveling, and solo traveling in particular is always just so incredible for boosting your confidence and trying new things and having magical movie moments and all that good stuff. So I can't wait for you to go on your cruises and you're traveling in the UK. And I love this testimonial so much. And I had it in my mind the other day, 2 days ago, in fact, when I'm recording this, when I went to have my car serviced and MOT'd. And you might be thinking, what on earth has a car service got to do with the testimonial I just read? Well, let me tell you. I knew that I had to drop my car off in town, and it's sort of right on the edge of the main town, my hometown, Stafford, in the Midlands. And I originally dropped it off at 1:00 and they said that it was going to be ready by 5. So I was like, okay, great. I'll have 4 hours. I'll go and do some work in a cafe. I will look around and do some stuff and basically just kill time so I don't have to go back and forth to home all the time. So I was like, great. So I did that. And with this testimonial in mind, I was thinking, what if I didn't just have to kill time for 4 hours? What if I had a 4-hour adventure while I pretended I was the main character in a Hallmark movie instead of just going and working on my laptop while I waited. And that's exactly what I did. So the first thing I did was have a stroll through town. It's the town, like the hometown I've sort of always lived nearby. I don't live quite in town, about 20 minutes from it, but it's the county town. It's the main town that has been the main town of my entire life. So as I was walking around, I was reminiscing about where my friends and I used to hang out all the time. I don't really go to the town centre anymore. I don't know if it's because I do a lot of shopping online. I've been hanging out sort of the other side of where I live, a different town in that direction more lately because I've been going to business events and stuff there and line dancing classes there. And if I ever do go there, it's usually just to go to the cinema because they have an Odeon there. So strolling through town, I was like, okay, I'm sort of reminiscing about where I used to hang out. I saw a guy I went to high school with, which always happens in a small town, doesn't it? I sort of knew I would because I always do when I'm in Stafford. We were never friends and I couldn't actually remember his name, so I felt a little bad. So it wasn't like a Hallmark meet cute, but it had very Hallmarky vibes, didn't it? Like someone goes to their hometown, they haven't been there for a while, and they run into someone from their past. I had to walk around outside the church in the centre of town. There were lots of like little cute streets and shops and ye olde buildings around that area. And I was sort of looking at it through different eyes. Like I've lived there or nearby all my life. And I'm sort of aware that, some people find it quaint and they quite like that area with the church and the park and the old buildings. And there's like an old cafe restaurant called the Soup Kitchen in this really old, cool building and little cobbled streets and things. And I know it's cute, but you don't really see it, do you? When you're there, or you have been there a lot. So I was trying to look at it from a Hallmark lens, basically. Like this would actually be a really cute location for a scene in a Hallmark movie. And then I went to this cute coffee shop that I'd never been to, sort of kind of aware it was there, but I'd never gone, called The Monk and Smuggler. Great name. And they had an outside bit. There's like a few shops there as well. And it was in this really cute little courtyard right next to the church. So you had a view of the church, lots of flowers, lots of trees, bit of the park. And it was the sort of main thoroughfare from like the town to the train station and the college and everything. So that loads of people walking past all the time. So great for people watching. And I ordered a spiced apple tea, which was delicious, and a slice of Biscoff sticky toffee cake, which was really bad sugar-wise, but lovely. Biscoff is one of my favourite things in the world. And I sat in that super cute courtyard, even though it was kind of a bit blustery. The sun wasn't really out. We just had a heat wave in England, and this was the day it stopped. This is the day it went away. But it had a lovely view of the church, as I said, lots of trees and flowers. And I just sat there and I thought for a while, and it was a bit chilly in the breeze, and I just held the mug of tea in my hands and really enjoyed the feeling of the warmth and enjoyed the cake as well. And then I got out my Movify Your Life main character thoughts only notebook, which I made for myself using trusty Vistaprint. I have made so much stuff with Vistaprint. I love it. And I started writing down notes for a podcast episode. This podcast episode, in fact. So it's quite meta, really. And just writing it down, like handwriting it instead of typing on my laptop was a nice change. It kind of felt old schooly and like I was journaling, and doing it with a view and, being somewhere else other than home. I just really enjoyed doing that. I also people watched in between that. I love people watching. Do you? Like I love wondering, who are these people? Apart from if I went to school with them and I vaguely know who they are, but can't remember their name. I love looking at their style, like what they're wearing, pondering where they're going and what they're doing. If they're with other people, what are they talking about? Like what in their movie with them as the main character are they dealing with today? I just love people watching. And it was quite refreshing in the breeze. Like it was nice with the leaves blowing in the trees and, just getting some fresh air. And I took a moment before I started planning this episode anyway to just be and breathe. And it was lovely just to slow down for a bit, not be in front of my laptop, madly replying to emails and everything else, and just be for a little bit. So that was really nice. I also had a berry burst tea after that. Then I went to a bookshop and had a nice leisurely browse. I didn't actually buy anything, which was a miracle for me in a bookshop, but I also went to another bookshop the day after and bought 3 books. But anyway, this was Waterstones, and the bookshop I bought from was like a local independent bookstore, so I do not feel guilty about that. But I'll talk more about that in a bit. I also saw loads of school kids around, like in school uniforms, and it got me sort of musing, pondering about my youth, and basically how glad I am that I'm not still at school. Does anyone else feel that? If you hated school like I did, if you see like kids wandering around in school uniforms, and this probably is going to sound really bad, but I just think, thank God that's not me. Which was, it made me feel better about myself anyway. And the fact that I'm not a school leader, don't have to deal with exams and like peer pressure and whatever else comes with high school. It's probably 10 times, 100 times worse these days with social media and stuff. But I just had a moment to be like thankful that I'm not at school anymore. And it was nice hearing the church bell chiming every 15 minutes as well while I was sitting there. It was kind of cute. And I felt like, yeah, if I was in a Hallmark movie, the heroine might have a stroll around these cute little cobbled streets, go to a cute cafe, sit in a courtyard with like flowers and a church view, people watch, have a cup of tea and a baked good, and just, have a minute to herself. So I was feeling quite Hallmarky. And then I thought, what would a Hallmark character do next? I thought maybe she'd get a takeaway coffee and go for a nice stroll. And I did. I strolled right on over to the Range, which is not very Hallmarky, but it's one of my favourite shops. Actually, I got so excited at the thought of going to the Range that I forgot to get the takeaway coffee at all. But I had already had 2 cups of tea, so it was fine. And it did start raining on the way to the Range, which was a bit annoying. But I just sort of pictured myself in a movie and I was like, this is like the gritty, rainy, gloomy montage. Or maybe I'm in a film noir movie now. Yeah, it doesn't seem to rain much in Hallmark movies, does it? They're all in like really lovely sunny places or snow. It's usually snow, isn't it? But anyway, so I went to the Range. It was just a nice change to get out on a Monday afternoon and be around so much activity, all these nice shops and things like that. While I was sitting in the courtyard, I also saw a sausage dog in a pink jumper walk past. And if that happens, for me anyway, then, that's all you need for a good day, really. So I very much enjoyed that. I also, while I was sitting in the courtyard, before I went to the Range, I made a note of other things I could have done if I had the time and if I wasn't driving that day. As it turns out, I didn't need to drive that day because everything went to hell. But let's this is before that happened. So I could have gone to have a glass of wine at a cute pub. Lots of cute pubs about. I could have gone to see a movie at the cinema or a play if there was one on at the Gatehouse, which is the theatre we have in the town. I could have walked through the main park and hung out at the bandstand. It's like a big bandstand, not like a cute Gilmore Girls style gazebo, but it's still quite Hallmarky. The park also has like aviaries. Is that how you say it? Aviaries. Aviaries with birds in. So I could have gone and hung out with them. I could have gone on a shopping spree in cute boutiques, but I had spent most of my money on my recent Canada trip, so that was off the list. I was thinking like Hallmarky, and I was thinking I could have bought myself some flowers and carried them around with me, smelling them occasionally, which might have looked a bit weird. But also it was very, very windy that day, even before the rain came, so they probably wouldn't have survived. I could have gone to a bakery and bought a single cupcake to enjoy later. I could have gone into the church and had a look around. I wanted to go to the local, we have like a tourist attraction in the high street called the Ancient High House, which I hadn't been in since primary school, but it's very well known in the area. It's like a museum, but it was closed on Monday, so I couldn't do that. I also wanted to go to the local independent bookstore I mentioned, but it's closed on Mondays. Just like anything to do with like nostalgia, history, local tourism. I had in my mind like be a tourist in my own hometown because I tell people that all the time. So I wanted to do that, but the main places I wanted to go were closed. And then I started listing other things you could do depending on the weather or where you live. Like maybe you're in a city, you'd have more options. You could go to a solo dinner at a fancy restaurant, go see a show, as I mentioned. You could go and journal in the lobby of a fancy hotel, pretend you stay there. You're staying there. Sit on a park bench and read if it wasn't really windy and rainy. And it was just really nice. While I was listing all this stuff in the courtyard, it did start spitting for a while, but I willed the rain to go away, and it did for a bit until it really didn't. There was a local shop called Magic by Candlelight in front of me. It was just really lovely. Other lists of stuff I was making, you could make friends with a dog or a cat or whatever animal is available. And obviously you would try to have a meet cute with someone and despise them on sight for no apparent reason, because that always happens in Hallmark movies, doesn't it? But yeah, I also made a note that on the way to the cafe, I had walked past a dude on scaffolding in the high street and he had the music blasting. He did not care who could hear him, and everyone could hear him. Probably not miles around, but like the entire high street could hear him. And I admired his not giving a crapness for one thing. And then I was thinking, like, if this were a Hallmark movie, I'd probably start like dancing as I walked past, but I didn't. So I have done similar things when filming my movie-mentary in public, like just crazy weird dancing and silly things in public, but that was when someone else was always with me and there was a camera there, so there was a reason to do it. So I didn't feel like I could, but I'm still working on not caring what people think of me all the time. But maybe next time I'll at least put a little spring in my step or something like that. And yeah, I've just put, you could be a tourist in your hometown or city or village or wherever it is. You could meet up with some friends for some cocktails and catch up and feel like you're in Sex and the City, maybe. You could put your own soundtrack on while doing all these things. I was bang on about music. I didn't have my headphones on me though, so I couldn't do that. And I have weird shaped ears, which means I can't wear earbuds. Like AirPods are not a thing for me, sadly. But all of these things, if you listen to music while you're doing it, have your own soundtrack, your own pump up song, it would be amazing.
Okay, movie star, real talk. Are you tired of feeling like a background extra in your own life? Then it's time to step into the spotlight and activate your main character era. And I've got just the thing to help you do it. Grab my free Movie Star Alter Ego Starter Kit, your behind-the-scenes pass to creating the bold, brave, action-taking version of you who goes after their dreams like the star of a blockbuster. Inside, you'll discover how to design your alter ego, choose your transformational item, pick your theme song, and build the rituals and confidence cues you need to start living your life like the epic movie it was meant to be. So, if you're ready to rewrite your script, roll camera, and finally take the lead, head to movifyyourlife.com/free to download your free starter kit now. That's movifyyourlife.com/free. Your next scene starts today. And now, let's get back to the action.
So anyway, I was in the range having a lovely time. It was absolutely pouring it down, and the range is basically just a massive warehouse, so you could hear it on the roof, which was actually quite nice sound. And then I got a phone call. Plot twist, disaster. Okay, maybe I'm being a bit dramatic there. But basically they called to say that they were really far behind with all the MOTs and services, and they'd need to keep my car in overnight, do some of the work tonight, some of it the next morning, early in the morning. And that meant I had hung around for hours for no reason. I ordered an Uber, but I could have ordered an Uber straight away when I dropped my car off and gone home and worked. But I wouldn't have had my lovely little time sitting outside the cafe and planning the podcast episode and pretending I was in a Hallmark movie. So I was really annoyed at the time. Also because it was raining. Also because we don't have many Ubers in Stafford. So it was a long wait and we have terrible traffic. And I was just a bit grumpy and frustrated. We do have buses, but they're not very reliable. And I also would have had to walk up a massive hill for 20 minutes in the rain once I got back to my village. So I didn't fancy that. So Uber it was. So that was like a £30 expense that I wasn't taking into account. Also a bit, annoying. But, and then I would have to get an Uber back the next day, another £30 when it was ready. So it wasn't ideal, but as it turned out, they didn't have my locking wheel nut in the car for the wheels to look at the tyres or whatever they do. Can you tell I don't know anything about cars? They phoned me and said, "We don't have this. Do you have it?" And I was like, oh no. And that morning I had been very efficient. I had cleared out the entire boot of my car, including my bag of stuff, all this random stuff that I keep in there, not realizing that the locking wheel nut case was in there. I had got my tyre changed a couple of months before, and I think the guy must have tidied it away in that bag for me, and I didn't realize. So that was in my garage, not at the garage where they were doing my car. So as it turned out, they wouldn't have been able to get my car done that day anyway, but never mind. I just felt really annoyed and frustrated at the end of that day. I was very tired. I was soaked from waiting in the rain for the Uber. It was just really annoying. And then like the locking wheel nut thing and them not being able to work on it and being behind and everything. I was pretty annoyed, honestly. I was also annoyed because I had to get up at 6 the next day to take an Uber back and drop off the locking wheel nut. And then I would have to kill time again for several hours while I waited for my car to be ready. And obviously I had to pay for the MOT. I was on a service plan, so I didn't have to pay for that day. But I'm sure you know what it's like. If you're waiting for your MOT results, you're like, oh, what if they find something? What if it's going to cost hundreds and hundreds of pounds? So I was also like annoyed that I had to wait for that news like 24 hours later instead of a few hours. But anyway, I got up at 6 the next day, which was early for me because since becoming self-employed, I just don't do that because I'm not a morning person. I'm not going to force myself to be a morning person when I am my own boss. That's just silly. But it did feel good to get a jump on the day. And my Uber picked me up and it was a Tesla. And no matter what you think of Elon Musk, I do feel a little fancy whenever I'm in a Tesla. Mostly when I'm ordering an Uber. Seem to be quite a lot of Uber Teslas, don't they? Weird. Anyway, now I remember thinking on the way to the garage, if this were a Hallmark movie, it would be like a small family-run business with a, like, quote, air quotes, Hallmark hot, which I always think of like a generic handsome guy with chiseled features, mechanic wearing a plaid shirt, but not quite. It's a big company, lots of people. Though the guy I talked to was quite nice. So I dropped off the locking wheel nut, and then it was 8 a.m. and I had several hours to kill again. So I put on my Hallmark glasses, metaphorically, and thought about the list I'd made the day before while sitting at the cafe. So it was now Tuesday, so a lot more things were open. And it wasn't raining as much. It was raining a little bit, but not as bad as the day before. So I went to the park. I stopped off at the bandstand, which, as I said, is not as cute as a little white gazebo from like Gilmore Girls or somewhere. But a cute squirrel did run across it while I was there. So that was quite adorable. And I had a bit of a stroll around the park, looking at it through my new like Hallmark eyes. And it's actually a pretty cute park. There's like a really nice white bridge crossing the river, lots of greenery. There's a cafe, there's a bowls lawn, and there's the aviaries, which is what I mentioned in my notes while I was sitting outside the cafe the day before. So lots of super cute birds. And I stopped to watch them and to say hi and to use my Merlin app. I love the Merlin app. It's like collecting Pokemon, but you're collecting birds. And there was a lovely golden pheasant there. I did feel a bit bad for it because the smaller birds, you know, they got quite a bit of space to fly around in those aviaries, but the golden pheasant's pretty big. I wanted to like set him free, but maybe he doesn't do well in the wild. I don't know his backstory. Anyway, that would turn to more of a heist movie if I was trying to liberate all the birds. But I was thinking, if this were a Hallmark movie, some dude would rock up right now, also on his Merlin app, and we'd bond over our love of birds. In reality, all that happened is that people walking to work, because it was like 8 a.m, looked at me a bit strangely for hanging out watching birds at 8 in the morning. But still, it's fun to imagine. And I think a lot of movifying your life can be like that. It's looking at things through a new lens, but also imagining what would happen if it were, say, a Hallmark movie or whatever your favorite genre is. Like, what would happen? And thinking of the scenarios can be quite fun just on its own, even if they don't actually happen. Then I went to Coffee Number One, which is a chain restaurant. There's a few of them, but I really like it. It's a really nice vibe. It was very quiet, even though there were quite a few people there. There were a lot of people on laptops and things, so I didn't feel so bad sitting there on my own and getting my notebook out and working while I was there. I had a spiced chai with added caffeine because I wasn't used to being up that early. I needed the caffeine and a raspberry croissant. And I just sat there and made more notes about this exact episode, which is stuff I've already been over. And there were like there was a painting on the wall of like 3 local people from the past, like women, the founder of Stafford, the suffragette movement woman who had a big part in that, and a dude who was a member of parliament or something who did something for the town. I did take a photo of it so I can read up on it again. But it was nice learning about some local history. And that made me think about the ancient high house that I'd made a note of the day before, the museum that I wanted to go to. And I decided to go there after having another drink, caramel macchiato. And also while I was there, I overheard the most random conversation, which I love. There was a guy working on his laptop on the table next to me. He was on a business call, clearly. I really wasn't tuned in enough to hear it, but you know, when you just hear one sentence, it just comes through and you hear it and then you're like, what on earth are they talking about? And he was on the phone and he was saying, well, he said these words: all I can say is that the lady with 4 stoves is laughing right now. And I was like, what on earth are they talking about? And I couldn't get any more clues from listening. And I didn't want to listen to his whole conversation, obviously. But I did message some of my friends because I love overhearing random stuff. And I was like, this is amazing. And so I sat there pondering the lady with 4 stoves and why she would be laughing right now and what could his business possibly be. I was like, is it a kitchen fitting business? Catering business? I don't know. Anyway, so then I went to the ancient high house, which, as I said, is a museum. It's one of those places that like everyone in the surrounding area basically visits when they're at school. It's kind of like a rite of passage. You kind of have to do it. And I hadn't been since primary school, but I remember going because we got split up into 2 groups. Were given outfits like costumes. And the 2 groups were like the rich society people who owned the house or whatever, and the servants. And I was a servant and I had to dress up and act like a servant, which I've always thought that's got to do something psychologically to a child, hasn't it? When the rest of your classmates are bossing you about dressed in lovely dresses. But anyway, I spoke to a lovely lady on the main desk about the history of the building. She was telling me all about it. And we were talking about the alleged ghosts because I know that Derek Acora He once did one of his shows on Stafford, and he went to the High House. And so we were talking about that and sort of laughing a little bit. And then I went upstairs. It's on 3 floors, and I was on my own in the corridor, and I walked past this door, and the door shut behind me, and there was no one there. And I was a little freaked out. I was like, it's probably just the breeze or something. But we had literally just been talking about the ghost. So I was a little bit like, okay. And it didn't help that I then went into a room that was decked out in like a ye olde shop, because there were like ye olde shops in this building. It's an incredible building, by the way, the ancient High House. It's this Tudor building on 3 floors, and it sort of gets bigger as it goes up, if that makes sense, and kind of hangs over the street. And it looks all topsy-turvy compared to the modern buildings next to it, and it's very cool. But yeah, I went into this room that was decked out as a ye olde shop, and there was a mannequin there, a shopkeeper mannequin, which I did not expect him to be there, and I didn't see him as I was walking into the room, just as I turned to look at the main display, and he scared the shit out of me, especially after the door thing had just happened. And well, that made me laugh. And there was another room with a very, very scary Charles I mannequin who looked very, very sad indeed. And I was like, these mannequins are definitely haunted. But he was there because he had stayed in that room on his little jaunt through Stafford all those many years ago. And the top floor of the museum was like an exhibit on this volunteer Staffordshire military regiment, which I knew nothing about. And it was quite cool to learn about local history and just be a tourist in my own hometown, as I say. And there's a cute gift shop too, and I love a good gift shop. And I've always loved that building, and I've always meant to go back there. So I'm glad I took the time to go, and I'm glad I took the opportunity again of actually doing stuff instead of just waiting around for a few hours and being annoyed again at my car not being ready. Then I went to the bookstore that I mentioned, that little bookshop. It's lovely. It's very cute, twinkly lights. It's new. And I always want to support small independent businesses. So I bought 3 books, a bit of a weird collection of books. I bought The Tiny Magic Bookshop, which sounded really cute, an Agatha Christie hardback. I've been collecting the gorgeous hardback collection of her books. And a book on William Palmer, the Rugeley Poisoner, which is potentially Britain's first known serial killer, allegedly. He's very well known in these parts. I've been in many pubs and things where he lived and drank, and where he allegedly murdered lots of his friends and family, usually after taking out big life insurance policies on them. But I haven't read the book yet, and I was talking to the woman in the bookstore, and she said that you might not think it's him by the end of reading the book. So I'm intrigued. So yeah, sort of I was in my local history vibe era, I guess, that day, and I saw that book and I was like, okay, I'm going to get this. So that was very cute, and it's a lovely shop, and the people who work there are lovely, and it just makes you feel all warm and fuzzy when you go to places like that. Then I went to Primark, which is a bit of a different vibe. Not very Hallmarky. But then I actually went and picked up my car. Yay, it had passed the MOT. It didn't need anything doing, no extra costs. I was very happy. The sun was shining now. I had had a lovely morning. They gave me the keys, said, you're good to go. I went round to where all the cars are parked, spotted my car right in the middle of about 12 other cars, blocked in on all sides. And I was like, oh man. Oh well, one last hurdle to get through. I asked a guy to move one of the cars. He vanished for about 10 minutes and then eventually came out and moved it. So I felt very good driving my car out of the garage. I'd had a great couple of days being a tourist in my hometown and imagining I was a Hallmark character. And like I say, the sun had come out as I drove off. I put on some Less Than Jake songs and I belted them out the whole way home and had a lovely time. I remember thinking what a difference 24 hours makes, or what a difference day makes, because I went from tired, frustrated, grumpy, soaking wet from the rain and annoyed at the garage for being late, and then annoyed at me not having the thing they needed, and then having to get up at 6. And then, I was just really tired and annoyed from the whole day. And then I went and had a really lovely morning the next day. And it just shows how you can turn things around by looking at things through a bit of a different lens. So what did I actually learn from all this? Well, firstly, I already knew this, but pretending you're in a Hallmark movie or something similar is very fun. Granted, I didn't meet a ruggedly handsome mechanic or a bird lover in a plaid shirt. I never did discover why the lady with 4 stoves was laughing, but I think it's good that way. Some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. What struck me when I was thinking about this was that absolutely nothing about my town changed The church was still the same church that had always been there in my lifetime anyway. The park was still the same park. The only thing that changed was the lens I was looking through. And as I said, instead of seeing that I had a few hours to kill, or my car was being serviced, and how annoying is that, I saw an opportunity for a mini adventure. And instead of rushing from one thing to the next, I took my time, I slowed down, I people watched, I, savoured a hot drink and a cake, and I played a tourist in my own town. And I think that's the real takeaway from this little sort of Hallmark experiment, is that you don't need to fly halfway across the world, you don't need to go on holiday, you don't need a picture-perfect small town or village, and you don't need a movie-worthy budget either, or even a particularly exciting day. Sometimes all it takes is a bit of curiosity, a bit of imagination, and a willingness to romanticize the ordinary. Because I know when I look back over those 2 days, especially if I think about this in the future, I'm not going to remember the inconvenience and the frustration of everything that happened with the car. I'm going to remember sitting in that courtyard with that mug of tea, people watching. I'm going to remember the church bells, and the dog in the pink jumper, and the golden pheasant, and the little bookshop, and the museum I hadn't stepped foot in since I was like 6 years old. I'm going to remember the lovely conversations I had, and the mysterious woman with the 4 stoves. And that's kind of the whole point of Movifying your life. It's not waiting for life to become more interesting, but becoming more interested in life, in your own life, in your own surroundings. So the next time you've got a few hours to spare, or you're stuck waiting around for something or someone, try asking yourself one simple question. What would a Hallmark character do? Or if you don't like Hallmark movies, what would the lead character in a rom-com do? What would the lead character in a coming-of-age movie or an underdog story do? And go and do it and see what happens. Just don't expect the handsome mechanic to show up, unfortunately. So I want to say thanks again to Jo for Australia for telling me about her own sort of Hallmark heroine experience, as it definitely helped me reimagine that whole day, or days in the end. And instead of being like frustrated waiting for my car, I went and had a little adventure and was a tourist in my own hometown as well. And just before I go, I want to say something here. So as I say, I was handwriting all these notes as I was out, and first in the courtyard, second in coffee number 1, and then I finished it when I got home. And my handwriting is terrible, so I didn't want to sit here trying to decipher my own words while I was recording the podcast. So I took photos of each page instead and asked good old Uncle ChatGPT, Chatty G, to transcribe them for me. And I didn't ask him to do this, but not only did he transcribe my notes, but he gave me little comments as we went through it page by page, and some of them really made me laugh. Yes, AI is making me laugh. So I wanted to share some here because I think I honestly had just as much fun asking Chatty G to transcribe these for me and then seeing what comments he made. Almost as much fun as I did actually going on my adventure. So, okay, let me read some of them out. Okay, also, as a completely unrelated observation, across 9 pages, I think we've now had spiced apple tea, berry burst tea, chai, caramel macchiato, raspberry croissant, cake, and a hypothetical cupcake. Hallmark Jess appears to be powered almost entirely by baked goods and hot beverages. I'm starting to suspect that the true secret to main character energy is simply maintaining a constant supply of beverages and pastries. I mean, rude. AI being a bit of a judgy McJudge face there. I mean, everyone knows there's always lots of hot drinks and baked goods in Hallmark movies, right? So I was doing it for the plot, okay? That made me laugh. And this one too. The Merlin app subplot is also absolutely incredible. We've now reached the point where Hallmark Jess has developed an entire parallel screenplay. Hallmark version. You spot a rare golden pheasant. A handsome stranger appears. Is that a golden pheasant? You gasp. You know birds? 3 months later, you're jointly running the town bird sanctuary and decorating the Christmas tree. Reality version. You. Hello, bird. Commuters. Why is that woman talking to a pheasant at 8 a.m? And then he put some laughing emojis, and that just really made me laugh. Also, Chatty G said the lady with 4 stoves may be the true Hallmark villain of this story. We never know. We'll never know. And this one. The Hallmark delusion is getting stronger with each page, and I am fully here for it. Me too. Delulu is the Salulu, as they say. I particularly love this progression. Reality, need car repaired. Hallmark brain, and I'm going to use Hallmark brain going forward now and forever. I love it. Hallmark brain, perhaps the mechanic is a ruggedly handsome widower who secretly restores vintage furniture and runs the town Christmas festival. Reality, national garage chain. And yes, I just love the idea of having like Hallmark glasses, like metaphorical glasses, like rose tinted glasses, but Hallmark glasses, and Hallmark brain when you go around and you think, what would happen if this were in a Hallmark movie? Or what should I do now, considering I'm sort of basing this adventure on a heroine in a Hallmark movie? I love it. So yeah, that was my mini adventure. And that's what Chatty G thought of it. And I really hope that next time you're waiting around, like I say, for something, instead of just killing time, go and have an adventure. Be a tourist in your own hometown or wherever you are and think, what would a main character in a Hallmark movie do? Get your Hallmark brain switched on, put on your Hallmark glasses, and have a lovely time. I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast episode. A bit of a random one, but a fun one, I think. Hopefully you agree. If you liked it, please share it with people you think would love this, especially Hallmark fans. That'd be great. Thanks again to Joe for the amazing testimonial. I love everything you're doing. Keep on keeping on. Keep movifying your life. And thank you again for listening. And until next Movify Monday, I'll see you on the red carpet.
Thank you so much for listening to the Movify Your Life show. Before you go, don't forget to sign up for the main character memo mailing list at movifyyourlife.com/list for exclusive tips, treats, and behind-the-scenes magic. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate it if you could please subscribe, leave a review, or share this podcast with a friend. Let's spread that Movify message far and wide because everyone deserves to live an epic life fit for the big screen. I'll see you next week for another Movify Monday. Until then, that's a wrap.